Today, on What the Heck is Happening in HR, we're going to talk about a topic I haven't heard anyone talk about. But those of you who have been listening for a while, you know that sometimes we are the leading trend. For our podcast disclaimer, please visit the episode description. Thanks so much for coming back to What the Heck is Happening in HR. And today we're going to talk about a topic which I haven't heard people chat about, but I think it's something we need to talk about. Whenever you're trying to do planning, specifically strategic planning for HR, we need to be able to think about what's happening in our world. Well, one of the things happening in our world is the Department of Government Efficiency, which will kick in January 20th after the inauguration. It's already being reviewed quite a bit as to what it means. But I want to talk about what it means for private industry and what it means for the public sector, because I don't think anyone's really thinking about this. I think our employees are thinking about it, but I don't think we've addressed it as HR. And I think it's our job to raise these issues with our organizations and be able to say, what are we going to do about this? What does it mean to us? And be able to have that entire group of or team or whatever your leadership group is called to be able to have some ideas as to what this means for them. So let's talk about it. DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is supposed to be eliminating regulations, cutting costs, perhaps even eliminating some of the departments that are at the federal department level. And so why? They're trying to save the taxpayers' money. And this is being done by two entrepreneurs within the Trump administration. And if you will, there's sort of a commission. So they will be providing recommendations as to what can happen or should happen. So they're coming at it with a very distinct business entrepreneurial mindset. Right or wrong, that's where we're headed. So whether you're comfortable or not, that's where we're headed. So you need to get comfortable with what's happening. So what's this mean? It means specifically, let's focus on regulations. So when regulations get changed, it will change at the government level, but then it will also change with any organization that deals with those regulations. So I'm reminded of a story when I was working with someone who worked in procurement. And the procurement person was very used to working in Department of Defense procurement pieces. They knew the regs, they knew how to complete the paperwork. They were very valuable to their company because of this. However, when she was let go, because they had a pretty big layoff, mainly due to the loss of some contracts, she didn't know where to go because she didn't really know how to do that outside of the government entity she was working in. And then she didn't know how to apply what she knew in procurement to the private sector. It was a very disturbing time for her. We really had to sort out what she knew because she's like, well, I know this reg. And I said, but no one knows what that reg is. It's a specific procurement reg. And once you get into an interview with somebody who will be happy you know the regs, that's great. But we need to get you through the application and into a pre-screen and into an interview first. So I need you to look at your businesses and HR people in particular. This is your opportunity to lead the critical thinking needed around this. What jobs are tied to what regulations? How are we developing people? Do we understand that that's a skill, a learned resource, but it isn't perhaps the reason the department exists or that job exists? How are you going to be able to move forward with people? And how are you going to make sure that they're successful either in your firm or outside of your firm? You've heard me share the story my dad said all the time when we were camping. always leave the campsite better than you found it. And I really try to do that when I'm working, to leave the place better than I found it. And you need to be able to do that with your folks. You can't take people who have been in a business and working in regulations for 5, 10, 20 years or more, and then be able to say, now we don't have a need for you. That is just inhumane. You need to be able to have some foresight as to what they can apply perhaps somewhere else. That's true public wise. If they have eliminated that position or they've eliminated the regulations they knew, then how are you going to help them either get revamped in what they know or be able to find another position? And privately, again, if all that person has done is respond to the regulations that have been set up, then they're going to have a difficult time understanding what else to do because their world will be changing. And I am guessing this is going to be pretty rapid. Perhaps one of the first things you can talk about is just to acknowledge that there may be jobs in every company that is going to have a change in its regulations, whether it's a small business administration, whether it's banking, whether it's how you take credit cards, whether it's how you hold credit card information, whether it's privacy, whether it's employees, whether it's procurement, whether it's whatever it is, transportation, whatever it is, there are going to be changes, whether you're in the public sector or the private sector. So your opportunity right away is to talk about change. Understand change management. Lead the change management. And you can say, I don't know what this means for us yet because we don't know what it's going to be. But I do want us to be mentally ready and understand that change is coming from outside our organization. And because of that, employees at least know you're thinking of them. They understand that you are leading the way and that you aren't just waiting for something to happen and then be reactive to it. Employees can be very concerned when they don't feel they have control over what's happening in their workforce. And right now, in the workforce, we're having them return to work. And so we already have them like, what do you mean I have to return to work? And that's true for the federal government. They're asking them to return to work as well. And so there will be people who will self select out because they don't want to do that anymore. But they need to understand that if they self select, how are they going to position themselves for where they're headed? So, again, HR, please take the lead in this. This is a phenomenal opportunity for you to take the lead, help manage the change, lead them into understanding that we don't have control over everything, but we can control how we respond to it. I do have a wonderful little equation that I use. And with that came from Jack Canfield, and I just love it. I use it all the time. And the fact is that our outcome is the result of the event that happened and our response or our reaction. So, if you will, O equals E plus R. So our outcome can only be changed by whether we react or whether we respond. The event is the event. So in this instance, the event is there's going to be a change in regulations. We don't know what, we don't know when, and we're not sure how deep it's going to go. But we do know there's going to be a change. So we're going to prepare for that. We will need to react somewhat because we'll probably have to redo things that we have had set up for years. But we are going to respond in a professional manner and we are going to prioritize those changes that need to be made so that our outcome is one that prepares us to be part of the new administration's movement forward so that we end up getting more of the market and more of the efficiencies that perhaps will be coming downstream. It's such an opportunity for HR and such an opportunity for businesses to get ahead of it. Don't wait just because no one's talking about it. We're talking about it because we have a tendency here on what the heck is happening in HR to talk about some of those tough topics and to be able to talk about things that are trending. because we want you to be ahead of it. We want you to be better than everybody else. And you can be better than anybody else if you just simply subscribe to our new podcasts that drop every week. Thanks so much for listening to What the Heck is Happening in HR.